Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Huntsman podcast. My name is Chris Waters, and this is another audio-only version. The reason being that I'm in the car, which you can probably hear from the audio. I'm driving up to Melbourne in Victoria, Australia, to Beretta HQ, of all places, to pick up a mysterious rifle for a mysterious filming hunting project. So how's that for a bit of a tease for you? The reason why I wanted to record this podcast, I've been wanting to record it for a while, but I actually put it off because we've just had our season 3 finale and wrapped up that story, that project, and then also announced season 4. And not just announced it, but if you're a little bit behind the times and you haven't watched the finale yet, I revealed at the end of it that season 4 will air, the first episode of which, this Sunday, May the 3rd, at 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on the Huntsman YouTube channel. So we're not mucking around. We've literally just wrapped up season 3 and just started season 4. And not only that, but season 4 episodes will release fortnightly. There's 6 of them and they go for 30 minutes each. So they're twice the size of a normal Huntsman video. And, you know, even though we like to do around 10 episodes a season, there's actually more content in this 6 episode season because they're twice as long. It's like the equivalent of 12 episodes, essentially. It follows our New Zealand hunting adventure with Brad and Geordie and myself, jumping on a chopper and flying to the Marlborough region of the South Island of New Zealand. It's a hell of a lot of fun. We partnered with Helicopters Nelson and just had an amazing time hunting red deer and fallow deer and goats and chamois on both public and private. And even with the private hunting that we were doing, because we were climbing such kind of high altitudes and hiking such long distances, most of the animals that we actually shot during that portion of the private trip was actually on public anyway. We basically ventured out of the private into the public. So really fun adventures, some really good stories. I'm really proud of that season and I'm excited to share it all with you. And I'll talk maybe a little bit about that season at the end of this episode, but predominantly what I wanted to do in this episode is actually just share some thoughts and reflections on season 3. The experience that we had, my own reflections on how the trip went in terms of both the production side of things, give you some behind the scenes insights into the production, as well as the hunting experience, because I think that the season 3 experience is quite relatable. I mean, that's the main reason why we wanted to film it. If you're unaware of what season 3 is, basically the Huntsman crew, a number of personalities, we got together and we found a spot in the Victorian High Country that none of us had really hunted before. Luke was the only exception. He had a little bit of experience in the area. But we picked a spot that we hadn't been before, set up camp, and then basically hunted it during winter for, it was about 4 weeks, I think. Was what the duration of the entire season was. And all public land hunting, chasing sambar. And the idea behind the season was to give you an authentic look at what it's like to tackle a new area. So to kind of figure out the rhythm of that area, to try and understand where the deer are, where the deer are moving, and to experience that from the perspective of a number of different hunters. So for the first time, we really put a focus on the community that is the growing community that is the Huntsman cast of personalities, I guess you could call it. I mean, from season 1 and season 2, it was largely just myself going out there and meeting people, and sometimes they're the host of a property, or sometimes they're a hunting guide, or sometimes they're just someone that I've heard about and met for the first time and gone out hunting with them. And we've always incorporated guests in that sense. But for season 3, I really wanted to start the process of building out this community of characters, of personalities that I hope that you've started to resonate with. I hope that you've started to love and enjoy. You've started to see some of them, even from as early as season 1. People like KC and Geordie, have been along right from the start, but then introducing new people like Cass and Regan. Luke is a returning guest. Brad and Linda are returning guests, as is Scott. But then you get to meet Jody, Scott's wife. You get to meet young Jordan again for the second time. He made an appearance in season 2. And so we're starting to add these people. And the reason why I want the Huntsman to be more than just me. It's really important because that's largely the experience of everyone else. And the Huntsman is really what I want it to be, and what it is, I believe, is a reflection of the broader hunting culture and community in Australia. And the reality is that, yes, a lot of us do go out and hunt solo, but then, it is not uncommon. In fact, most people hunt in a community of hunters, in small groups and little cliques. And so you get that banter, you get that camp life, you get to celebrate the highs and the lows together. You have people at different points in their hunting journey, and that's certainly reflective of the Huntsman cast. We're not all at the same level, and the learning that we're experiencing is, different facets of hunting. Some of us are learning at being better marksmen, some of us are learning at being better trackers, better scouts, better stalkers. We all come from different parts of the country. Like KC is based in WA, although there might be some news about that coming up soon. Geordie and myself and Luke and Cass being from Victoria, Brad and Linda from Queensland, kind of southwest Queensland, and Jody and Jody and Scott being from North Queensland, and young Jordan and Regan also being from Victoria. So we're all kind of spread out all over the place. And really, I guess, I want you to find your favorites. Like, I want the Huntsman to be a place where it's not just telling my story. That's really, really important to me. And season 3 was, I guess, the first effort to really reinforce that. And what was really cool was that you got to see the journey unfold, because it really was, like, as frustrating as this was, this added a lot of tension to the season and to each episode, but we really were figuring things out. And so the first few episodes are really difficult hunting. Like, it was really hard. We were in an area that was just being smashed by hound hunters, and I have nothing against hound hunters, and I'm nothing against areas that are predominantly hunted by hound hunters, because they have a limited range in which they can hunt, and then the hound hunting style lends itself to certain terrain, and so it just so happens that we picked an area that was fairly heavily hunted by hounds. In fact, it was being hunted by hounds while we were there, which really affected the quality of the stalking. Basically, the valley that we were in just got slammed, and the animals were just few and far between and really pressured and on edge. And so the hunting was difficult, and it forced us to have to pivot and try different things and change our plans, change our approach. And then, by the middle of the season, we decided to completely pack up and shift location to go somewhere completely different, which again is a massive risk. I mean, we're all time poor, and hunting is a luxury, right? But it's a labor intense pastime. It's not just something that, for most of us, we can't just pack up our stuff on a Friday night and go out and hunt the Saturday morning and then come home. Like, it's an investment of a weekend or a week or a couple weeks. And when you've got a young family, that's incredibly difficult to do. When you've got a spouse or a partner, there's responsibilities there and tensions there that need to be managed. And so it's not something that we can quickly just get up and do. So you want to get if you're hunting on public land and you pick a spot, ideally you want that spot to work. And so when it doesn't work, that's a pressure. And to pivot halfway through a trip and go somewhere completely new is a huge gamble, a crazy roll of the dice. And then for us, the added pressure is that, we're filming a show. And so and we really need to be harvesting animals in order to produce episodes. And it's not just the pressure of producing content for you, the audience, but we can't produce the show without sponsors, and sponsors are paying for the advertising and for the brand awareness through the show, and so we need to deliver for them as well. So if we're not getting animals on the deck, we can't produce episodes. Like, you can produce an episode obviously without a kill, and we do that, fairly regularly. And I'm actually proud of the fact that we release those episodes and we don't just write off that time, but we tell those stories and we tell them authentically. But there's a limit to how many of those you do. You can't make a season where no one sees any animals and no one shoots any animals. That's just not an interesting and engaging hunting season, and no one will watch it. And if no one watches it, then it burns relationships with sponsors because the videos don't perform. And it just, the whole thing essentially doesn't work. And so it's a huge gamble, but I mean, I'm proud of the decision that we made. At the end of the day, it was the right decision. The second location we went to was much, much better. We moved out of hound country, and hunted some just beautiful areas and had a lot of success. And it was just an absolute joy. And it was really cool to see like the progression as well, the progression of that learning. I think it was Cass's episode was the first episode where we hunted what became known as State Route Sambar, which was this really interesting section of high country, alpine high country, that was kind of gravelly and sandy. It was really fascinating, really different biome and terrain to the lush kind of rainforest that you can get, like ferny, bracken, wet areas, or even thick bush. It was quite different, and it turned out to be a really interesting area to hunt, but also yielded a bunch of animals. It was basically the way that the deer were engaging with this ridgeline or series of ridgelines was, it was an in-between zone. And so they weren't staying there, but they were passing through it. And when I hunted with Cass in that location, what's cool was when we got halfway through the trip and we realized that this location just wasn't working, we had to pivot. I jumped on the maps, and I'd previously kind of pinned one of these points as like, I'd like to explore this point at some region. And the spot that I specifically wanted to hunt was the pin that I hunted first with Cass. I literally had a pin on that location just from Google mapping it and using Google Earths. And if you haven't used Google Maps or Earth to do what we call e-scouting, it's a really valuable and worthwhile experience and tool and technique to use. Essentially what you're doing is just having a look at the terrain and judging the terrain. Like, first of all, you need to know whether it's public land that you can hunt. So you use tools like More to Explore, or if you're in New South Wales hunting on public land, you can use the DPI maps. Or if you're in Tasmania, obviously they have maps available through Tassie Hydro and all those different places. But you need to obviously find whether it's huntable for public. And then once you know it's huntable, then you can jump into tools like Google Earth and Google Maps. And I like Google Earth specifically because you get a sense of the terrain, and that can really help you. You can find water sources with Google Maps and Google Earth, and get a sense of your approach, come up with different ideas of, if the wind's going this way, I can approach it from this direction. If it's going this way, in Google Earth as well, you can map out, like you can make a route and find out like an actual distance in terms of kilometers, so how far it would take you to walk that distance. And you can get a sense of the angles of observation into gullies and from the tops of ridges and valleys, and you can find saddles and all those different features, which are really key to selecting your hunting locations. In fact, I'll make a bit of a spruik here. If you haven't done any of that and you want a really good course or lesson on that, a masterclass on selecting locations based on e-scouting, there's actually a lesson dedicated to e-scouting where I give you a super practical example of how it works on huntingcourses.com.au. It's in the techniques module. I can't remember what the lesson's called, but if you purchase the techniques module, you'll get access to it. And if you purchase the full hunting course, you'll get access to it too. So highly recommend that, huntingcourses.com.au. Check it out. Great resource. But anyway, I'm diverging. I pinned this spot. I knew this spot would be good. And then I hunted it with Cass, and we hunted it late in the afternoon. You can go watch the episode if you want. I think it's episode 7 in season 3. And even though we hunted it late, we had success right where I thought we would. just from me scouting. Not only did we have success, but we got honked right at the last minute. Once we discovered the deer that Cass had shot. So I knew there was at least one more deer, on that ridge. And then, as a progression of learning lessons, I took KC back there, and KC had been hunting by himself in an area that we set him up in, and seeing lots of deer, but just not being able to close it, basically not being able to successfully harvest one. And I had a few shots and missed deer, and that was episode 8 essentially. So in episode 9, I took him from that area and said, all right, we're going to let that area rest. We're just going to give the deer there a bit of a break because you've been hounding them, and it's not worth going back there. But we instead will go to this spot that I hunted with Cass. And again, we went up that same ridge line, and I went to the area where we had located Cass's deer after it was shot, where I heard the honk, and we pretty much got honked, I reckon, 100 meters from that location, just a little bit further up the ridge. And then we pursued that deer and called it in, and KC shot it on top of the mountain. I honestly believe it was the same deer that honked us with Cass. So that's an idea of what that progression of learning can do for you. And then what's interesting is the season finale, episode 10 from season 3, I went back to that same location. We probably hunted it 3 days in a row, and which you can do. When an area has enough deer, you can push that area without pressuring it too much. You'll get to the point where you've blown your scent so much through that area that it's basically ruined for, a week or so, or at least a couple of days. Or the animals are just too skittish and they've moved. And depending on the species, different deer will hold in different regions longer than others. Fallow deer are very, what's the word? They love their habitats. They love their little zones. And so they tend to stay in those zones, especially does. Bucks will roam a little bit. Bachelor herds will move a little bit, but they don't tend to find a valley and they stick in it, or a basin, or an area. Sambar, stags roam a bit. Their territory is quite a bit bigger. Red deer, even bigger again. And Sambar hinds, they tend to move around a little bit more than fallow. So you'll find that certain deer hold to certain areas a little bit more than others. But I mean, if you find an area that's got deer, it's got deer, go back and hunt it. And so that's what we did. And even though I didn't have success on the top of that ridge, I did have success on literally when I was finished hunting, and I was on my way back to the car, and I got just down to the point of the river and started following the river back towards the car. And that's when I got honked, and that's when I shot the deer over the river, and then swam over the river and got and harvested it, which was just, man, I can't tell you how much of a relief that was. And we've all had this experience when we've been out, and we've been out for a while. This is week 4. I'm stuffed. I'm so tired. It's been freezing cold. It's -6 most mornings, and sleeping in a swag. The camp food was amazing. I can't complain about that. We really got blessed by the food that we ate. A lot of it was prepared by Carnivore Collective. And so we were able to just have some amazing food that Geordie helped cook. And so the food was incredible, but you just get fatigue, and I get social fatigue. I might sound like a really social person. I can really, be the life of the party when I'm at the party. But if you ask me whether I want to go to the party, the answer is no. I always want to sit home, read the book, relax, be by myself. That's how I'm energized. So I was stuffed. By the end of this trip, I was so socialed out. And because we're filming and producing the show, that's just a layer of intensity on top, and stress and worry that really, there is a toll. There is a toll, because you're not just hunting. We're making notes, we're tweaking our production. You're trying to figure out if you have enough episodes, what the episodes are. There's sponsored segments that you're filming. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on. Just the technical management of gear is crazy. And it's hard enough when you're at a powered site in a house. When you're literally on public land with no access to power for 4 weeks, and you've got multiple cameras, like 3 camera operators on that trip, just charging batteries and keeping batteries and dumping footage. And there's some real technical challenges that you have to overcome that are just, again, stressful. And so by the end of that trip, I was just done. Like, I was so done, and I was happy and excited. And I think we had 2 days left, and we needed to produce one more episode. We were up to kind of 9 episodes worth of content. And up until that point, I'd helped everyone else out and helped everyone else get deer, except for Luke. Luke just goes and gets his own deer. Same with Geordie. Geordie didn't need any help. He went and got his own deer. But yeah, I'd kind of tried to put other people first, and I just wanted to go out by myself and get it done by myself. And it was really cool to be able to achieve that. So when I found, when I got honked by that hind and shot it on the river across the bank, and then swam over in the literally freezing cold water, like to get it, that was just a joy. And my adrenaline was so high at that point. It was so high. I wonder if you've ever had an experience like this. And it wasn't just the adrenaline of harvesting a deer and putting in the work and the culmination of all this learning. It was the culmination of a season of working so hard for so many weeks and really putting a lot at risk to do this public land season, because we could have gone places where we knew there were deer, and we could have shot 4 times as many deer like that. And we could have shot stags, massive stags, if we wanted to, that, over 30 inches. Like, we could have done that we could have produced that season, but that's not the experience that most hunters have. And that's not the story that I wanted to tell. I didn't want to tell the story of someone who has a honey hole, and where the hunting's easy and we're just hunting out of a cabin, and there's no kind of risk. I wanted there to be serious consequences, real risk, real stakes, because that's what it's like for people, for most of us, when we go out and hunting on public land, is that real stakes. And those of us that are harvesters, that are primarily out there for the meat, well, like, that's what the stakes, and then the stakes are even higher, because you want to feed your family. And even, like, I was talking to a friend recently, Damien, and he's just been kicking goals on his hunting journey recently, doing really, really well, like harvesting deer consistently now. But, not 6 months ago, he was experiencing real tension in that he was planning these trips and working with his wife to be released to go and do it. And there was the question of, like, are you going to get a deer this time? Like, you're putting in a lot of work, and, I want you to succeed, honey, but, like, we need the meat. If you're going to be going out and doing this, like, there needs to be a justification for this experience above and beyond you having fun and you getting some mental health time. And so it's awesome that he's been able to convert recently and get animals. Even just recently, he was hunting during the red deer roar in Victoria, and he passed up hinds and spikers because he didn't need the meat. And he messaged me and he said, "Chris, I just passed up deer." He said, "Does that make me a good hunter or a bad hunter?" And I was like, that makes you a good hunter. That's awesome. It's awesome that you're at that point where you're passing up animals. Like, how cool that you're at that point where you can be a bit more selective during specific periods where you don't need the meat, and you're chasing after something a little bit different. Like, you're still, obviously going to harvest the meat from a stag or a buck, but you don't necessarily need it. And so for season 3, like, there's the stakes were real, very much real. And it was an authentic experience. And I know that the performance of the content would have suffered because of that. That's a reality that I'm conscious of all the time, that there's this funny balance between us producing authentic, real stories from real people, learning real lessons in the bush in Australia, versus the need to create something spectacular that will get views, that will allow the channel to persist and continue. Because if the channel's not performing, it's hard to justify whether it lives or dies. Certainly as a business, like, it's all well and good if you just have a YouTube channel, a hunting YouTube channel, and it's purely for fun. Awesome. It doesn't matter. Go out there, film however much you want. The quality can be whatever level you want. It's just choose and just do whatever you want. But when you're actually responsible and accountable to sponsors, when you need it to work to put food on the table, that adds a different dimension, some challenges that need to be worked through. And I knew that it was risky to produce that kind of season, but I felt like it was really important to do it regardless. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I know in speaking to a lot of you that you really did, that you even enjoyed the first episode where we didn't get an animal, didn't see an animal. Like, filming in the high country is difficult. Filming in a location that's so thick and so nasty is incredibly difficult to get animals on footage. And so I know the season took a hit for that, and I really appreciate the people who found value in it and who enjoyed it. Like, is it something that we're going to continue producing, like, content like that? Like, no, we'll change it up. We'll try different things. Like, I want there to be those, high mountaintop experiences with crazy animals, big animals, huge trophies. I still want those as well. But I don't ever want the Huntsman to be a channel where the stories become unrelatable. Like, that would be a really sad day for me if that happened, where it was just sensational content. Like, it was just, and there's lots of hunting channels out there like this, and like, I enjoy watching them. They're like that sugary hit of crazy big animal, and you just get that buzz, and we all want to see kill shots. Like, we all want that. We all want to see animals. But if that comes at the expense of an authentic story, for me, that's a deal breaker. And I'm happy, I've said this before, I'm happy to produce content where we just shoot does and hinds, spikers and small stags. That does not bother me in the slightest. And I know that it affects the ratings and the views, and I honestly don't care. As long as I think that there's enough of us out there that appreciate a good story, that those stories will perform regardless. And I'm really thankful to, if you're listening to this and you've been listening to this point in the podcast, I imagine you're someone in our community who feels the same way. Sorry, I'm yawning, I'm tired. And I appreciate the fact that you watch these videos, that you watch them from start to finish, that you like, and that you write comments, that you're subscribed to the channel. I appreciate that you share the videos with other people. Like, that all goes a long way towards helping us succeed. And when we're putting the stories first and the authenticity first, and you still respond in that way, that means a lot. And so I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. That honestly, that means a lot. So thank you for that. And thank you as well for being encouraging of the learning. Like, again, we're all very much at different stages of development in our hunting journeys, and I don't ever want to hide that. I think there's a temptation of a lot of hunters out there. This is a reflection on the hunting culture in general, but also in the content space. It's the same culture. It's just a different expression of it, or a different lens or angle. But there's this temptation as hunters that we pretend that we're better than we are. There's this tall poppy syndrome that you kind of cut down anyone who pretends to be awesome, but at the same time you puff yourself up to make yourself sound better. I've sat down with lots of hunters over a beer, and they've been like, oh, I saw this and I saw that and I shot this and I shot that. And you can tell that there's some, creative license coming in, which is fine. Like, it honestly, that doesn't bother me. Like, people can have their stories. But I don't ever want our stories to be inflated. I want them to be raw and honest. And we're careful. We're careful in making sure that they're not compromising. But we want them to be honest regardless. And, our learning is a huge part of that. And I love sharing tips and tricks that we've learnt or that we're learning. And, the hunting courses platform, huntingcourses.com.au, is something that we'll continue to plug and continue to build upon. I was just speaking to my wife this morning about how I want to add some more content to that space, add some more courses, work with some more people. Because again, it's awesome to hear and be taught and mentored and trained by a variety of hunters that have different experiences. And we're all from different areas too. So someone who's hunting in South Australia will have a different hunting technique and style from someone in Victoria versus someone in Queensland and Tassie. And so I want to make sure that I'm providing educational material and content and opportunities that fit those different demographics and locations. So I definitely want to keep investing in that as well. A word on the humor as well. This is something that I think about a lot. I've had a little bit of feedback over the years from not heap, but I've had some people and heard some people, mention that the huntsman can be a bit goofy at times. I think that was the word that was used. And I agree. Like, we can be a bit goofy at times. But again, it comes down to that authenticity. I don't know about you, but when I'm out hunting with friends, we have a lot of fun. It doesn't matter who I hunt with. Maybe I'm just attracted towards people with this type of personality, but there's a lot of joking around. There's a lot of mucking around. It's just a huge part of at least the hunting culture that I'm immersed in. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't include that humor. Now, do we include all of the humor that's filmed in The Huntsman? No, because it would be too thick, to be honest. It would be too much. I'm actually selective with what I let pass through, to the keeper versus what actually appears on camera and in the final edit. But again, it's who we are. I think levity and humor in hunting content is really important. It breaks up some of that seriousness. It lightens the mood. It can change the tone of how a hunting video feels. It gives you an insight into the person. So yeah, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on the humor, like a bit of a thermometer. Let me know what you think. Like, at times, is the humor too much? Is it too childish? Is it a bit crass? We try and make the show as family friendly as possible. We work really hard on having little to no swearing at all in the content. And when something does slip through, we censor it. Because I know a huge part of our audience are families that watch the show with their kids. And so it's important to me that we continue to make that a safe space, make the content enjoyable and accessible for families. Because, our kids are the next generation of hunters that are going to come up. They're the culture that's emerging. And so we need to make sure that we're educating them on what hunting's all about. And so I'll never apologize for helping cater towards kids in the content, even new hunters. I basically pretend when I'm editing episodes that everyone who's watching is like a new hunter. So I'll just share tips that I think are even super obvious, but I'll just share them because I know there'll be new hunters in our content. And I'm sorry if that's repetitive, but it's important that we reach out to everyone. But yeah, let me know. Do you have that kind of humor in your hunting trips? Is it something that you experience? If it does get too much, please let me know. I want to be responsive to people, and I don't want to create content and videos that, are just off. That's not something I want to do. The editing as well. Like season 3 has been a real journey in the editing process. We put a lot of work into editing a Huntsman video, a Huntsman episode, because they're not just edited for YouTube. Like Huntsman actually appears on a bunch of US networks, on US TV, basically. And then season 2 also made a run on Foxtel Australia. And so we try and produce it to a standard that it can be used for TV and is used for TV, which just means like it's a lot more expensive to make. It takes a lot more time. The editing, to give you an insight, editing a single episode takes about a week and a half, literally 9 to 5, like a week and a half. And that's flying through an episode. That's a fast paced edit. That's really quick. And so that's a lot of time. And I do all the editing myself. And I'm not a professional editor by any means, but I think I'm getting better. I think I'm starting to get better at it. And again, it's about trying to make those edits feel authentic. Because you can have authentic stories and you can ruin them with an unauthentic or disingenuous edit. So yeah, I'm putting a bunch of work into that. So let me know what you think about the edits. Like, do you enjoy them? Is there too much music? I put a fair bit of time into scoring the episodes, which is not something that you traditionally see in just a YouTube hunting video. Like, there's a lot of YouTube hunting videos that are just the raw audio. That's what you get. And I feel like music is a really important tool to help shape the experience of how we feel when we watch something. And so I'll be quite strategic in selecting music that I think helps and complements that part of the story that's being told. You know, if it's like a solemn moment, I'll choose music accordingly, whether it's a happy moment, whether there's humor, whether it's kind of pensive and reflective. And so let me know if that comes through. I mean, let me know if you even kind of are aware of the music. Maybe ideally the music just sits behind the edit and you don't even really think about it. It just kind of is there and help. It's a useful tool. Let me know that as well. I'm pretty keen to hear your thoughts on that. Well, let me share some final thoughts on season 3, and then I'll talk a little bit about season 4. Season 3 was emotionally and physically really difficult. It was a really difficult season. It was difficult to produce. I remember sitting in my swag, stressing at nights, literally in my stomach in knots, hoping and praying that we had enough content to make this, feeling the weight of the season on my shoulders, feeling the weight of people's expectations. But I'm ultimately really proud of what we produced. I'm really proud of the story that we told, or the stories that we told. I'm really proud of the community of the Huntsman cast that's been developing and who you'll continue to see develop. I'm really proud of it. I hope that you've enjoyed it. It's easy to look at videos on YouTube because it is a social platform and you can see everyone else who's making stuff in the space and compare and contrast your stuff with someone else. It's easy to get FOMO. It's easy to get jealous. It's easy to get prideful. And I don't want any of those things. And so I'm working really hard to just focus on our goals, our mission, be as positive and optimistic as I can, work with as many people as I can, support as many people as I can. And that includes other channels too, and collaborations and all that kind of thing. Because I honestly believe that when we support each other, the entire industry thrives, the entire community thrives, and the culture improves. And so, yeah, they're just some thoughts. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite episode was. Let me know who your favorite Huntsman personality is. Don't include me in that list. I want to know, apart from, me, who else you like. I'm assuming that you think I'm okay if you've watched the show. And so let me know who else you enjoy watching. Yeah, I'm keen to know. Let me talk about season 4. So I want to give you some insights into season 4, some little teasers for season 4. I'll say teasers. I don't want to give anything away. So I'll share as much as I can. As I mentioned, season 4, it starts May the 3rd. If you're listening to this when it goes live, that's this Sunday, 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on the main Huntsman YouTube channel. As I mentioned, it documents Geordie and Brad and my journey. It's a 10-day trip in New Zealand. We fly into Nelson, which is a small seaside town on the top of the South Island, and then literally jump off the plane and head straight to Helicopters Nelson's hangar, and where we meet the Helicopters Nelson team. And we unfortunately got fogged out for the first day. That's just a reality when it comes to, accessing locations and helicopters, is that it's really weather dependent. And so we couldn't fly out that day. So we ended up having a little adventure at the local hunting and fishing New Zealand shop, which was fun. And then got out the next morning. And the first episode essentially documents that first day. And it's just, or essentially first 2 days, actually, the day we arrive and then the first day of hunting. And from that point forward, every episode is a day, except for the season finale, which is over 2 days. But you get the full, over the course of the season, those 6 episodes, you get the full 10-day experience. And it's a really cool way of actually cutting content, because season 3 was over weeks and you get a sense of progression. But I was really mindful on this trip to make sure that people may be coming in at different times to different episodes. And so we wanted to keep that consistency. We wanted to remind everyone at the start of every episode what we're doing. The trip is essentially broken up into 2 halves. So the first half of the trip, we're hunting on private land, on this private lease that Helicopters Nelson have, that is just this beautiful valley, this gorgeous valley with 2 big ridges on either side, and nestled in between is this little, basically shack. It's like a kitchenette shack, tin shack that's got, some cooking essentials in there. It's got a little barbecue. It's got some gas burners and some oil and a beautiful bench that you can sit in, the clothesline, that kind of thing. And then adjoined to it is it's a water tank that's been basically cut open and retrofitted with bunks. And so it has 4 bunks in it, and that's where you sleep. And the whole idea behind this particular trip was to partner with Helicopters Nelson, and they offer a few different services. One is that they can charter you anywhere outside of Nelson to hunt on any public land that you want. They can go and they can drop you there. That's the second half of the trip that we did that I'll talk about in a second. Or they can drop you in what's called the Gosling Camp, which is this valley, the Gosling Valley, on their private lease, where there's this little shack, and you can stay in that shack and hunt that property. And so we wanted to show what it's like to hunt in that location. And Geordie and I had never hunted in New Zealand before. Brad had hunted in New Zealand once before. But again, this is a completely different location. It's an unguided experience. So, self-guided is probably a better way to describe it. So we just wanted to tell that story. We wanted to tell it authentically, and that valley is just chockers with animals. Like it's like you'll see deer on the fly in. You'll probably see goats on the fly in. You'll see stags, red stags. You'll see fallow bucks on the fly in, and it's all free range. There's no like. There's like, obviously there's farm fences, but that's not going to stop a deer. They're everywhere. And so there's a lot of opportunity to go and harvest animals for meat and also go find that trophy that you want. We went in pre-raw, not post-raw, pre-raw. So the raw hadn't really taken off. We did hear some roars on the trips. We saw lots of stags. And so I can confirm, stags were shot, fallow bucks shot. I don't want to spoil it. It's a great trip, really, really good trip. And the second half of that is we get picked up by Helicopters Nelson and chartered over to the top of this crazy, crazy ridge. It's a system called Misery Valley, and it's true to its name. It is beautiful, and the weather was gorgeous, but just a miserable experience in terms of the climbing. So rough, so difficult. You really want to have solid fitness if you're going to want to hunt in that area. And we made the mistake of hunting it on the second half of the trip after we were already gassed from the Gosling camp, because you can hunt the Gosling camp a few different ways. You can just follow the river flats if you want and see plenty of animals. If you want to try and chase big stags, you obviously have to climb ridges. That's just what happens in general when you're hunting. And we went hard. We were hunting ridges every single day, climbing every single day. And so when it came to the second half of the trip, we were just gassed, but pushed through and just had a really cool experience. Really, really cool. That part of the trip is just amazing. And yeah, again, I don't want to spoil what happened because it's part of the episode, but really, really fun. We actually met up with Jürgen, who is a New Zealander. He has his own YouTube channel called Strider Media. Definitely encourage you to check him out. While we flew in on a chopper to that location, he actually hiked in, and which is just incredible because it's 2,000 meters above sea level, and he hiked in, which is pretty epic. So he joined us for that second half of the trip as well. So you get to experience some of his story. He came on as a camera operator to help and just provide some local knowledge as well. He never hunted that area, but just hunting in New Zealand is incredibly different. It's just really different. Like I can tell you now, the closest we shot an animal was probably 350 meters, which at least from where I'm from and hunting in Victoria, that's a long shot. That's a really long shot. So it's an adjustment. But we wanted to show, feature what Helicopters Nelson offer, give you an insight into it, and then tell an authentic story. And again, similar to season 3, there's a big truck next to me. I don't think he's very happy with how fast I'm going. I'm sitting on the speed limit. Similar to season 3, we didn't want to hide anything. We want to show you day by day, moment by moment, what we're learning, what we're figuring out. There's definitely lessons that are learned. You see a progression. You see culmination of lessons, all the hard work paying off. It's a really cool season, and I'm really excited to share with you. And again, I don't want to slow the momentum down. I don't want you to have to wait 6 months before another season starts. And so, from the season finale from season 3, episode 10 airing just this week, if you're listening to this podcast when it drops, to this Sunday, the first episode, not even being a week before we drop the next episode. I'm really proud of that because we're working really, really hard. I'm working really, really hard to try and get you this content as quickly as possible. So I hope that you appreciate that. We are dropping episodes fortnightly too. So you won't have to wait a full month between episodes for this particular season. Other seasons, we'll go back to the regular monthly drop probably for future seasons. But for this season, season 4, they'll be fortnightly. So I hope that's been interesting. I hope that's been useful. Some, thoughts and discussions on hunting in general, hunting culture, hunting in Victoria, as well as some insights into the season 3 production. I hope you've learned something. I hope it's been useful. Thank you again for your time. Thank you again for your attention. I'll just give some plugs because why not? I'm here. I want to encourage you again, huntingcourses.com.au. If you want to learn how to hunt, there's some really awesome lessons in there, not just for Victorian hunters, but the hunting in the general course is, I've designed it so that it's universal. It works for any particular area. And then also, if you're not a member of the Australian Hunters Club, australianhunters.com.au, go check it out. I'm the president of the club. We have an amazing community. If you want to connect with other members, we provide you with the tools on how to connect with members in your area, you can go out and hunt with them. You can host your own hunts. You can host your own events. You can attend other events. We've got a camp coming up. I believe it's this October, which will be taking place at Nyora, Queensland, at Brad's property, which is an incredible property. Brad, who's part of the Huntsman community, part of our cast of characters and personalities. You've seen me hunt there before in the past. You'll see me hunt there again in the future. Just an incredible place. So encourage you to check it out. And you can also go on the draw to win professional hunting experiences each month. So yeah, encourage you to check that out. Otherwise, thanks so much for your attention. It's been a great drive. I've still got, time on the road ahead of me. So until I see you next time, stay safe and enjoy some hunting.